Today there is a commonality to the places around the world that are seeing transformation. This commonality is a commitment to seeking God first and foremost in large quantities of prayer. If you take Uganda as an example, it's gone from a nation with an AIDS epidemic and dictators that made sport of killing Christians. But then the church began to pray and fast. Church leaders and others gathered daily for prayer. And today, Uganda's president has dedicated the nation to Christ. AIDS has dropped. And where the church once hid in the swamps to pray, they now meet by the tens of thousands weekly to worship. I've been there. Uganda isn't perfect, but they've seen way more Christ-centered culture transformation than we have here in America. Do you want transformation in the Western world? I know I do. We must pray in quantity like the Ugandans. This isn't legalism. I'm not talking about being justified before God by the quantity of our prayers. I'm talking about being able to appropriate God's authority here on earth. I'm talking about both having a form of godliness and displaying its power. I'm talking about not just asserting to the ideas and working hard at these ideas, but incarnating God's power in your leadership. Do you want to lead others missionally at your work or in your church? Don't mimic life. Seek after, as your first and foremost priority, the living water. In Luke 18, Jesus told a story about a very persistent widow. A terrible injustice had been committed against her. She was poor, and she needed to obtain a judge's authority and judgment. She obtained that judge's aid because she kept asking him over and over. Jesus said we should approach God in the same way. You see, in America, we pray for something and then assume it is God's will when it doesn't happen after a few prayers. We even make excuses through wild theological loops for God. I'm telling you, there is something that delights God and moves his heart when we persist in prayer. Persistence means praying over and over again, and that means increased quantity of prayer. Jesus is saying, don't give up in prayer. Don't give in. Press forward firmly in the authority I've given you. So here's the bottom line. Spend more hours a week dedicated to praying, fasting, and seeking God if you really want to be an incarnational leader. Put down the smartphone, the laptop, the book, the movie, the sport, scheduling another appointment. Put down some of the seemingly urgent things that come up every day and set aside intentional time to pray. Then trust God that he will meet you on the other side with doing more in the present realm than you could ask or imagine.